Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Analytics Are For the Nerds. I'm Louis G, here with Ryan Mura. I know we are an uglier podcast today because we are without our friend Allie Brady, who's without power. So who loses here? You guys, probably most. Allie's, whatever. Let's get the show started.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
And if you want to be a sponsor, and we are really short on money, I will lick a bagel for you.
Because we should call it the Ryan Mura draft. This motherfucker puts a meme out in the world, and he gets 7 million retweets. I don't know how he does this shit, but mostly because that hair. I think it's the hair, don't you?
It's good hair. Great hair.
Now, if either of you started rubbing my leg at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to like it.
Oh, no. Isaiah Pacheco in a movie. So let me think of something boring but good. Schindler's List.
I knew you were going to say that.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Boring.
I'm sorry, I know you're Jewish, right? Is that, I don't even know what the movie's about, but it's a.
I don't know what. Just take a guess. Take it off.
Jewish 3 years ago. You just don't know you were Jewish, did you?
I always knew. Hair and the double mustache and the that is fucking gross. So welcome.
I do want to be clear though that I have earned one, and Lou is depressed. There's a big difference. Lou is still trying to convince 16-year-olds he's cool, and they keep telling him they don't want weed from him. They can get it from anywhere.
Well, listening to Allie during that open, she's mean a lot. So I don't know if we're totally missing her. And this gives you a chance before 3 minutes into the podcast to say something. So, Ryan, how are you doing today?
Hey, that's great. I know. Wow. I don't even know. I'm so nervous. I can't even think of what to say right now. I'm so happy. Yeah, we're missing Allie, of course. I just got through a bout of that flu. That's going around. I guess all the hockey teams have it now in the Four Nations tournament. So I got through that over the weekend post February fixed draft. So
must just be all good looking athletes that are getting it. Huh?
Yeah, that's
what's happening. Well, I mean, we're going on, I'm not as good of a host as Allie. I'm sure, I only hosted the show for 4 years before we got Allie, but obviously not as good as her. We'll try to have some fun. We got a great guest. We're gonna bring him in from Trainwreck Sports. We got Zach Sheldon with us. What's up, bud? How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I was gonna say, it really means a lot to come on to the Analytics Are For the Nerds podcast and to also come on in a PR savior role after what Allie did last week. So that really means a lot. That's a big boost to the reputation. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. See if I can rise to the occasion.
And I love the nod to last week, proving that you went back and at least listened to one episode. But I know it wasn't just one. I know you are a loyal listener, and you're tuned in every Wednesday night.
Well, I mean, why not? I mean, let's face it. There's good timing on the podcast. Wednesday night, middle there. I mean, if I'm not watching AEW Dynamite, it might be Analytics Are For the Nerds. But yeah, I like the variety and the madness of it all. I think that sticks out more than anything.
Actually, Zach was a member of my first and now longest running dynasty league, Rust Belt. Now, Louis, you're a part of. Zach was a founding member in the first and second year, I think, right?
Yeah, that was really when I had a lot of aspirations in fantasy football, and I thought the world was my oyster. And let's just have fun with this, and let's let's make love to everyone like the 70s, But now I realize I need to be monogamous. I need to focus on one lover, and I need to give that the right amount of attention and the care that it deserves. So thank you for including me in your orgy, is what I'm saying.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that this has been a long time coming. I think you and I have been playing around with the idea of having you on for 2 years now, and we always find a way to, something goes on, but I don't think we've talked about this in person, and maybe you just answer that, but we call ourselves a dynasty football podcast. We just get people in and really get people. Yeah. And then we totally are like, oh no, we're not. But let's answer that. Like, what is your portfolio? Like, do you really only have do you have any dynasty teams that you mess around
Oh
with?
no, I got my one league, and my one league, like, it's absurd. They have a $50 penalty if you have a spot that doesn't end up starting or something. Like, I had to pay the league $100 last year because we're at these tailgates where it's 2 degrees outside. I'm there for like 3 hours before the game, and someone gets a game time decision not starting. How is that on me? What the service? I should not be held responsible for the poor cellular reception in Orchard Park, New York.
Now, I want to agree with you, but I'm going to really make you feel shitty here. I have 128 dynasty football teams. Like 90, some of them are lineup submitting. And I am a season ticket holder that's out there at 7:00 in the morning every Sunday. I get my lineups in. I will say my friends hate me. I will say I'm not doing too much tailgating, and my friends don't enjoy my company. So you're probably doing it way better. I'm just letting you know it is possible. I don't know what the right number is between 1 and 97, but I feel like we can stretch you out a little bit.
No, well, first off, I would love to get stretched out by you. With that said, it's just very interesting. You literally transitioned. You go, I don't want to one up you or anything, but I annoy my friends at the tailgate every week. Like, that was essentially what I said. I'm like, okay, but yeah, so I get it. I think that I need to be a little bit more like you, and you need to be a little bit more like me, Luigi. That's the conclusion I'm reaching.
Maybe I'm feeling a team. Maybe we could build a little portfolio together.
Perfect,
right?
Yeah, we got a great ownership vibe.
Between the two of us, maybe one of us will be sober enough by 11 a.m. to get it's not even about sober. You nailed it. Like, it is as those slots start filling, the Wi-Fi goes down, and when you lose it at 11, that's it. Whoever's in is in. I do have
big time dysplasia when you're at a Bills tailgate in Orchard Park, especially I'd say October 15th on for sure.
Yeah. Right. Anything? Well, let's go in. I don't want to, just because Allie's not here. This is usually the time Allie's like, let's not talk about football, and she loves to do everything and nothing with Allie. We talk a little pop culture and stuff. Well, Allie's not here today. So, but we're still going to do it. And I want to spread my wings. I'm not just going to sit here and make this about, I could have been like, fuck non-football stuff. But I asked her if she had anything in mind. She sent me 3 things. And you know what I did with those 3 things? I threw them right in the garbage. She could do them next week. I picked out my own. So first, and I will say this, Zach, I went to you right away. I went to your page for inspiration.
Oh no.
And I said, and it's perfect. You just commented on this. We got to talk about the Delta plane that flips over the other day. And today, Zach just retweeted, they are offering they're only offering each, they're starting off with 30 grand, Ryan.
I don't,
grand settlement.
Like that number was so low that I don't even want to say it's official or whatever. But I mean, and I'm sorry, Ryan, go ahead, because I don't know. You probably have some Sky Miles or something, but that was just outrageous.
No, this is where it's going to get interesting.
You're a lawyer, Ryan. So yeah, give us your what's 30K seems low.
No, this is where it's going to get interesting, because I'm a lawyer, but I'm a defense lawyer. So actually, my buddy and I, coming home tonight from our roller hockey game that we just finished, we were talking about this, and he brought up the fact that, he expects like big, settlements for future, fear of flying, everything. But, what are the actual damages, right? What are the actual injuries? I mean, there was a big crash. There was some people might have some soft tissue injuries, right? But I don't know. Are they? I get it. It's not the favorable side to take. And I am one of the people that this is making me totally terrified of flying in the future. So I'm not the person to ask about this, I guess. But I don't know. I guess I can see it. I don't think that's that's not a number to scoff at. I don't think.
I think it's just hard to put a price on like because I would say altogether, you're right. Like these people got off of the flip down plane and everything. You know, a lot of them scot-free. Like some had injuries. Again, I think some more details are coming out. We'll learn more in coming days. But like I would say the cost of thinking you're gonna die for like what 3 to 4 seconds. Like when a plane lands like that, you had to think there was a solid 3 to 4 seconds where you're like, all right, this is about to rip up and explode. Like while it was happening, I would say that's like 1 million per second. So I think they're looking at like 3 to 4 million would be my take. But also I am looking for a golden pass where I can fly Delta anytime. I'm gonna keep confidence in this airline.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, knowing no matter what the number is, like the hacky joke here is that like Delta's gonna give it to them in like vouchers, right? Like they pay them out. They pay them out 200 grand each, but it's all in vouchers, and they can only travel. No, I again, I did not because we don't fact check anything on this podcast. I just saw it on your, and you are like my main source of news in the world, Zach. So I just saw it. So right when I saw it on your timeline, I'm like, trustworthy source. I'm going to talk about this.
Oh yeah,
but
that's actually that's a great acknowledgement. If you see it on my timeline, it's 1,000% real. The internet is real. I always think too, like, what if these like court cases occurred in the court of law that takes place in The Dark Knight Rises, when it's just the Sandman played by Cillian Murphy at the top of a bunch of giant desks, just making ridiculous decisions. Like I would, like what I would want, I'm going to sue this airline. They can no longer go by Delta. They can only go by Elta. Like just Delta would definitely be walking out on the ice right now. That's for sure.
That's so good. All right. One thing that I'm glad, because I know she probably wouldn't have brought it up. So I am glad to have this conversation with anybody. SNL 50, right? I don't know if we haven't talked. I don't know if I know Zach, you were probably into it. Let's start with you, Rye. Did you watch any of it? The concert, the show? Any thoughts?
I did not see any of it until, just caught some of the highlights the next day. On Twitter.
Zach, you were in it, right? You were live tweeting it.
Yeah, unlike Ryan, I don't have any actual responsibilities, so obviously I was enjoying the minute by minute, play by play of the entire thing. I watched like half of the concert, and then I watched about 2/3 of the episode. The episode was just pretty strong. They started strong and they kept it going, so there was a lot of reason to follow along. It was chaos. Part of the fun of watching it, I think, for the episode especially, was just like how much was going on. That was pretty well executed. And at the end of the day, yeah, the jokes were hitting. There were just some classic moments like Will Ferrell buffling his line and like Kenan Thompson and Tracy Morgan laughing is going to be like an all-time moment probably. And that's what you get from an SNL 50. So definitely they were shooting for the moon. I don't know if they got all the way there, but they definitely landed in the stars somewhere. So it was a good SNL 50 performance.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm an SNL guy. But I think the concert may have been the best televised concert including all the award shows and stuff, probably in a decade. I thought the concert was great. And there was awkward moments, as you just said, like the chaos, because it was on Peacock and like things, aren't there, and it was at across the street and wasn't, at the regular thing. You saw the moments of chaos where like even where Jimmy Fallon didn't really know what the next, he was looking for his cue card. Sometimes he was like killing time. He legitimately like play by played Jack White, like getting ready for like the next set. Like there was chaos throughout both nights that was kind of endearing to me, more so than like, oh, this is weird. I liked the chaos. The heavy hitters, like you said, there was some really, they picked all the right skits. I think maybe 2 or 3 were like, oh, I could have went without these old ones, and I wish they would have done Wayne's World, but Dana Carvey wasn't there. There was another, Stefan, was in a mission, but Bill Hader wasn't there for whatever reason. So, it wasn't
that a
like
controversy. I was looking into that. Like, why wasn't Bill Hader there? I feel like he was a pretty big part of the show for like the last 15 years.
I spent a lot of time trying to look to see, if there was some form of curiosity or whatever there, or some kind of controversy there. I don't think that there was, because I think we would have heard of it by now. Dan Aykroyd came out today and just said like he had a scheduling conflict or something that didn't. So like everybody there, I don't think anyone wasn't invited. I think that
Yeah.
there was some scheduling conflicts, and I mean, not for nothing, but if you did find a few more guys to show up with their skits and their characters, I mean that show would have been 5 hours long. It was long as it was, but great, and I'm glad we got to talk about that a little bit.
Real quick,
Cool.
speaking of everyone getting invited, John Kerry in the audience. How the hell did that happen,
Dude?
I'm looking at all A-list. I'm looking at all like A-list celebrities or people of the moment or people who have like direct significance to SNL from the past, and just John Kerry out of fucking nowhere.
There were some weird and I'm gonna butcher her name, Io from The Bear, Ao, what's her name? You guys watch The Bear? Yeah, I'm never gonna say her last name.
Co-chef.
Yeah. She's been on once or whatever, twice maybe on SNL the last couple of years since the Bears become big. But I was surprised that like they made her part of the show. And what's crazy about her, I was legit. I'm a year removed from being at a wedding with her, with like a like she was like, it shouldn't be, now I feel like I'm sounding like I'm mocking, but I'm not. I'll say that publicly. But like with a Rochester comic that I kind of like came up with, that's like, whatever, just one of us, just a friend that I hung out with, and she was there with him, and then it was like, oh, it was kind of cool, you're from the Bear. And then in the last year, like literally since I left her that day, she has become this star that's just on SNL 50. And I was like, man, I should have hit on you when you were with my friend, I really missed a chance there. I really missed that chance because she would have. She lost her jacket, and I did help her look for it for about 10 minutes. I wasn't the one to find it, so I probably became forgettable.
Sounds like you were chivalrous. I don't know.
You always got to try some chivalry. We'll wait. We'll there's a segment later that we'll see if that comes up again. Oh yeah. But let's talk about this. We didn't get enough time to talk about this last week because we had the time Nazi and Ellie, who always wants to get us game. We didn't get to talk enough about this, but so Zach, I'm not going to do what I did last week and like kind of tell my answers. I'll kind of ask you guys and we could go from there. There's there's 11 teams that I'm counting right now that like we don't know who's going to be their week 1 starter. And those teams are let's start with this. Let's start with one specific team. We know that Rodgers isn't going to be back with the Jets. Rye, I know you have your thoughts about who ends up there, but let's start with you. Then we'll go over to Zach. Where do you think the Jets are going to land?
So the latest idea that I saw that I kind of like for them is Justin Fields, that they reportedly have interest in him, and then potentially pairing him with, a Cam Ward or a Shadur Sanders in the draft. I think that's probably the best idea. You have a young, unproven, former first round pick type player where you can plug him in for a little bit. Maybe he stays afloat. You keep the team afloat for a little while because again, I think that roster is not too bad despite their record last year. And they made, I think, poor decisions with coaching moves in the middle of the season and tearing apart that defense. So I think the Jets are kind of primed to turn around. Other than that, I don't really see them doing like the veteran quarterback route because they just did that and it didn't work. And now they're on the hook for a lot of money for, some time. So I would expect them to go young QB and just kind of push the reset. Zach, what do you think?
I am of the very same sentiment. I think they are going to go, at someone who has a couple years of experience in the league to pair with someone that they're going to draft, I'm assuming, as far as that goes. With that said, I am on a different wavelength than you for this veteran that they're going to bring in. Now, I don't know exactly on the carousel where we landed with some other teams, but the favorite storyline I would love to see play out this free agency is the New York Jets go out and get 31-year-old veteran former first overall pick, Jameis Winston. He is the perfect quarterback to like because he got a cannon arm, he's got experience, he's put up some numbers here and there, he's got a lot of momentum after how last season ended, and the Jets convinced themselves that everything is going to work out somehow no matter what. Even when Aaron Rodgers literally like took a check from them and just like left their house party every second that he got. Yeah, it was great. So I'm looking forward to Jameis Winston signing with the New York Jets.
He would be perfect for New York, wouldn't he? Like that personality.
He'd be on SNL before the season started.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, like I said, a little bit, and I didn't get to him out of my 11 openings, and it disappoints me that I didn't. Like, I want him to find a spot because it's better for the league. But I do agree with Ryan, and this is what I called a couple weeks ago, and maybe I'm going to be shifting these things. But Fields does feel like mixing him with or reuniting him with Garrett Wilson could be a lot of fun there. So there's that. Let's go Cleveland. Zach, we'll start with you this time.
All right, so Cleveland is going to do the exact opposite of what they just did. Instead of overpaying for a guy that isn't going to end up doing anything, they're going to underpay for a guy that's going to do just enough to leave them in torment and pain, just like Cleveland always does. So Cleveland is going to go and acquire Daniel Jones, former quarterback of the New York Giants. They'll tell themselves, this is a guy who was in the playoffs 2 years ago. So he can get you to the playoffs. Clearly, he can do that. With that said, I think that Cleveland's only in for torment and pain with Daniel Jones. They have to do a reset, too, because they're going to be stuck in cap hell from this Deshaun Watson situation. And then if they do have to get rid of Myles Garrett, Ryan, I'm pretty sure they did like a Stephon Diggs thing with the Myles Garrett contract where they were like, let's give him a ton of money and signing bonuses and leverages and then just assume he's going to be totally happy like playing, like as long as he gets his reps and everything. And obviously that hasn't gone the case. And I guess there's a huge penalty they're going to have to eat if they move him. And obviously it seems like Myles Garrett's going to get moved. So case in point, Cleveland will be looking for someone on the cheap. That'll be Daniel Jones I think they could probably get him for like maybe 20 million or something, or like 15 to 20 million. I know it's ridiculous to say 8 figures like it's nothing, but for a quarterback, that's basically pennies.
Yeah, I like that thought. So I think I agree with your logic, and I'm going to come to just a different result on which quarterback they're going to choose. So Cleveland, of course, the first question to ask is whether or not Myles Garrett is part of the equation. And I just can't see at the end of the day, Cleveland looking at the pressure that's being put on by Myles Garrett, the state of their roster, and saying, we're not going to cash out right now at his premium value. So I do think they're going to end up trading Myles Garrett. I also think they're going to want to go relatively cheap because they're paying Deshaun Watson an absurd amount of money. And I've, the potential cap issues down the road there, although they did, make some smart moves. I think they're going to go with Kirk Cousins. So Kirk Cousins makes a ton of sense there because he's going to get paid a ton of money from Atlanta just for not playing for them. And then they're going to also draft probably, Shadur or Cam Ward, one of those two guys, or even just Jackson Dart late in the first, early second, something like that. I think that's going to be their plan. Young guy, veteran to get through and to turn the page on a rebuild. You're muted, Louis.
Nothing like a mute monster.
I am. I'm sorry, I muted myself. If you do it one more time, I'm gonna think it's a bit. But obviously, are you just reading my tweet now?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I don't remember who you picked for any of these.
I do have Cousins here too. Mostly, I like the points that both you guys made, and I think the Cousins fits the Daniel Jones thing too. My thing is just the history with Stefanski. They have that history working together. I think it makes perfect sense. I won't go any more in that. Pittsburgh's a fun one. I will, Ryan, where do you think Pittsburgh ends up?
Pittsburgh is really hard for me to figure out. I think if Fields doesn't go to the Jets, I think he realistically could end up back in Pittsburgh. But because it was just kind of a mediocre result, as far as the season goes, I think they'll probably, consider turning the page. And they're in a situation right now, being in the middle of the first, where they're not going to have a chance at one of those top 2 quarterbacks in all likelihood. So, Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense to try and swing a trade. But I guess I'll go with, I want to pick him. I'll just say Darnold. It's a Tomlin guy where he sees what O'Connell did with him last year, and he says, maybe I can get some good productive games out of him. I don't think it would be a good fit if that's the choice, though. They're kind of I think they're in one of the worst spots out of any of these teams, because what are they really going to do? I don't think they can persuade Stafford to come to Pittsburgh. I don't see that happening.
Zach, what do you think?
Yeah. Pittsburgh's in no man's land, just like Ryan said. I am going to go with a wild card situation here. So this is why you bring me on to the good old Analytics Are for the Nerds podcast, because this has no chance of happening, but it is going to happen. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to trade their pick and some other consideration to the New England Patriots for Drake May, who are going to completely restart with Vrabel and everybody with a new administration there. They're going to wipe the slate clean. They're going to get rid of Drake May. They're going to realize he wasn't the guy. Drake May is going to go to Pittsburgh and be the guy.
Oh, okay. And do you, I just in this, I got a follow-up question now when you say crazy shit like that. Do they stick with Milton for the year, or do they have
New England
another chance?
New England then looks at leveraging like that pick that they got from Pittsburgh and probably like some second or like next year's first, and then moving up and getting some guy, or staying put and getting their guy in this year's draft.
There's a meteor that might hit Earth in a number of years that has a 3.1% chance of happening. I think this has lower odds of that actually happening. I really do. There's no way that New England is
right. It's a meteor pick. All right. It's a meteor pick. Okay.
I 100% should have put that and everything and nothing, because we do have sometime in between now and in 2032. We really have to talk about that.
If the Bills win a Super Bowl before then, I'll die happy.
That's it. I don't care. I don't care. If the fucking Bills win, like whatever, like I will give it up. I will give it all up. Give it all up.
Like honestly, I just have to stop us right here because of the meteor. I'm sorry. Like if you told somebody like, over the next 7 years, you have a 3% chance of dying. Like, would that shock anybody?
No.
Like, no, you probably have a 2 to 3% chance of like the variables of like, high speed traffic, all that stuff. All those added up is probably 2 to 3% of dying.
I hated someone, and I think it was in the fantasy football community posted this, was like, they posted having pocket aces, and then the flop was
it was Levitan who posted it.
Yep. So it was like ace 7-10 or something, the flop, and then showed that you had 4 or 5, and you obviously you needed runner, and that was the percentage. It was like 3.2, and that's how they did it. And I was like, oh my god, I've lost to that so many fucking times.
Anytime you see a poker bad beat situation, it does become a little bit more realistic, no matter what the number was.
Like, I have watched this so many times happen. I am going to die.
I love how when Allie is not here, everything and nothing just turns into like all these death probabilities. Like, would you want to die in an airplane? We're gonna get hit by a meteor. Like, we really turned it.
I'm sure I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later in another segment, but I met with a nutritionist today, and let me just tell you, I don't think I got 7 years. So I think that meteor is going to be not my problem to deal with. I thought that this was where you were going to go, Zach, when you were like saying you're going to be weird, because I think my take might be weird, but I honestly think it's retirement or the Steelers for Aaron Rodgers. And I think Aaron Rodgers does end up going there, because I think Tomlin and the Steelers are the only team kind of dumb enough to do so. So I'm excited to kind of see where I'm not excited. I'm not excited for anything about Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't hate if he had to retire. As a fantasy player, it doesn't make Pickens or anybody more really, he's done, right? But I think he can talk Pittsburgh into another year. Did you just close out your video just so you can vape?
No, I was taking a huge chug of the Modelo, and then I opened it back up, and I took a normal human-sized chug of the Modelo.
Oh, okay. You can do that on. I mean, I don't know if you're. You can use the. We're not sponsored by any real big sponsors, so you can do whatever you want on the pot.
Oh wait, we can say what's the edgiest thing we've said on this podcast?
So far today.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't think we've pushed it today yet. All right, one that I put on my list of 11, but I'm pretty certain that it's going to stay this way. So if you guys want to argue it, you could argue it. I do have Indy on the list because they're trying to say that Anthony Richardson's going to face at least some kind of competition. I don't see it happening, and I think if it's competition, it's quote unquote Joe Flacco, Tyrod Taylor type of competition. It's not real competition. I think they're just trying to kick his. I just think they want to kick him into gear a little bit and not have the guy who pulled himself out of a game come back to training camp this year. That's all.
Yeah, I feel like Indy are frauds too. I used to really like the idea of Shane Steichen there, but he's not shown well in his 2 years, in my opinion.
Any rebuttal, Zach?
No, I think they have to go with Anthony Richardson ultimately. My question to you guys about is this situation, in their opinion, as bad as like Pat McAfee portrays it to be, like where like basically like the franchise is essentially on fire, or is that, just kind of him reporting that?
I think as long as Irsay has anything, I don't think Irsay has a good realization of what's going on ever, or just life. But I think, to be perfectly honest, I think the Anthony Richardson stuff last year and the fact that he got pulled out, or he pulled himself out of the game, I thought it got blown out of proportion. In fact, I almost looked at it as endearing of him, like that he thought that he wasn't best for his team at that moment and pulled himself out. I don't know. I thought it got really overplayed. I don't think things are really. I mean, I think he's good. I'm excited to see him with stop messing with the kid's head. Stop. Even this, he's going to have QB competition. Just come out now and say the kid's our quarterback. He's going to have a year where he's not looking over his shoulder at 40-year-old Joe Flacco coming out and starting anytime he struggles. Just give him a year. You're not winning the AFC with the way it's built right now. So go see if you got a quarterback of the future. I don't get it. But all right, that was one of the easy ones. I want to start with this one. I'm going to go first here because for the Giants, I think I'm going with Matt Stafford here. I know that it's picking up a little bit of traction there. I think that the rumors of a first round pick is stupid and it's not even close to what they'd give up. But I do think that there's some traction there. I do think Stafford gets moved, to be perfectly honest, especially if Kupp goes like he looks like he's going to leave. So I think the Giants make so much sense. Shane and Dable cannot have another bad year. Obviously, this is their last year. They are not drafting a rookie, dude. There's just no way they're drafting a rookie to be their starter this year. I can't see it. They know that their jobs are on the line, so they're going for a Cousins or a Stafford. And honestly, I think Stafford's the one that can walk in and lead them to wins right away.
See, the only thing that makes me hesitate about that is that oftentimes when your job is on the line, you draft a rookie quarterback because you think it's going to give you a little bit more time. So I think they're going to potentially draft Shadur in New York, or even Cam. I think either one of those guys could realistically fall. What are they picking? Fourth, fourth?
Yeah.
Third, actually. Right. They're before the Pats and after the Browns. So, maybe they trade up. I think they're going to, here's why I think they're going to make that move for the rookie. Joe Shane last year in Hard Knocks, right? When his son is telling him, he's like, you only get this job once, you should go get Jaden Daniels. And he doesn't do that. Now, I don't know if he's going to have the same conviction about one of the quarterbacks, but he's much more in striking range this year than he was last year because they already have a top 3 pick. I think they're getting one of those two guys. That's what I'm going to say.
I like it. I think that the Giants will hedge their bets. By the way, I was so shocked that these guys weren't all canned at the end of last year that I think that they can't survive being like below 500 at the end of October. Like I think it's a situation where if you might as well I mean, Dable. I just gotta go on a rant here because it's one of the favorite talking points. I forget when it was, but like in the meat of 21 and 22, especially in 22 when he took Daniel Jones to the playoffs. But a lot of people would voice up like Brian Dable was far and away a much better option as a head coach than Sean McDermott. People in the local Western New York fan base. And my gosh, sometimes the echo chamber that exists within like that bullshit is just insane because you look at the numbers. I mean, Dable was supposed to be like an offensive guy and everything. And the one thing the Giants have not done with any consistency is execute offensively, especially since Saquon went away. With that said, I don't think the consistency will get any better. They will draft a quarterback for sure. It'll hedge their bets, but I think they'll also sign a veteran. I don't know where he is in the carousel, so I apologize. But Russell Carrington Wilson, you are a New York Giant.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, anybody
Super
like you
cheap.
said that can go
Talking like a couple million.
I just think he's washed, and I don't think he I don't know. He's still got a little bit of mobility. I was going to say I don't think he has the mobility that Dabo would look, for in his quarterback, but maybe because he does still move well for his age. So I like that. I like that. That would be I'll clip that for you later because when he does sign it, I'll be the first one to put it out there for you. That's you. You heard it here first.
I'm trying to look at his situation real quick. Okay. Kurt Warner was born in 1971. Okay. When he went to the New York Giants in 2005, 2004, he started there, replaced by Eli Manning midseason, even though the Giants were doing okay. He wasn't playing well. Got re-signed to a 1-year, $4 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals. That was 2005. Now think of people's perspective on Kurt Warner at 2005 and what he was eventually doing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All I'm saying is that even though Russell Wilson does look washed, anything can happen. Maybe history will repeat itself.
And the game is so systematic now. I would not think that would bode well for him going to the Giants. But I do think that guys are prolonging their careers or changing their career. I mean, Geno Smith, look, just based off the right system. All right, we have more quarterbacks to talk about, but we'll do. This is a 3-week thing, quarterback carousel. Who knew we had 3-week segments? But let's get to these. I want to talk about a few wide receivers here. This week with the Higgins getting franchise and then Godwin's extended void on his contract getting pushed back. So it looks like they're probably working on something there. That takes off 2 big names probably out of this. I know Higgins could probably still get moved. Obviously, Godwin could still get moved after they do something here. But let's talk about 3 guys that are almost definitely on the move. I'll name the wide receiver. You guys tell me where he goes. Deebo Samuel. Ryan, I'll start with you.
I'm going to say the Raiders. The Raiders need someone really, really badly. And I think that his style might appeal to Pete Carroll and what they're going to try to do with the offense. Maybe he's their Tyler Lockett, and you try to find another piece. I don't personally think that Deebo has too much left in the tank, but this feels like a Raiders type move.
Zach, any thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. It definitely does feel like a Raiders type move. Just looking at it, maybe this is a move that the Giants make. You look at it last year, they were bottom 5 in receiving yards despite having Neighbors. They obviously want to get someone to take some of the attention off it. Maybe someone like Deebo Samuel is a good opportunity to do that.
I like that. And, as a team that doesn't have an alpha running back either, he still has that ability to do some running out of the backfield. I don't hate that call. you would think the person that prepped the show would have an answer here, and I don't have a good one for Debo. I do think that he is going to be more about money than winning. So like the Raiders do make a lot of sense. Giants make a lot of sense. Like your two teams that you pick, they're good. I will go. I'm going to go Denver Broncos. I think is a good spot for Samuel, and he seems like a Sean Payton guy. I'll go Denver Broncos for him. Devontae Adams, Zach. I'll start with you.
Devontae is a tough one because I don't know why he really likes Aaron Rodgers for some reason. Like, I don't know. Devontae Adams seems like a totally reasonable, relatively cool dude. Like, do I think that having a Taco Bell in your physical living domain is like the smartest thing you could do? Probably not for aroma. Probably not for like your well-being. But I mean, that's Devontae Adams. So I do think that the answer here might be whatever team Aaron Rodgers goes to. But if I had to guess one outside of that, I mean, his Raiders team sucked for a minute, like at the end there. And then he went to the Jets and they kind of sucked. This guy has gotten a lot of money the last couple of years. Is it possible that like there could be some like interest in like actually like putting up like a legitimate second half of his career? So with that said, I will say that the Arizona Cardinals are the wild card team to sign Devontae Adams. Warm weather as well.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good spot. Mura?
Yeah, I think for lifestyle is something to think about what he's looking for right now. I think this is why he's going to go to the Chargers. The Chargers have a need at quarterback. They have cap space. And I mean, he would instantly upgrade that offense. I mean, imagine Justin Herbert tossing, touchdown passes to, I mean, that literally would smash. I mean, his ADP would go up probably 15 spots, in a couple of weeks. So I love the fit, and I think I still really like the player. I'm in on Devontae giving us one more year. I mean, the guy had, 180, almost 200 fantasy points last year in half PPR.
So I don't love this, Zach. I agree with you more. Right now, the current odds, like Arizona's like one of the least favorite, 33-1. That would be his next team. Now, that obviously doesn't mean anything, but Vegas normally knows what's going on. Right, you're the third. The Chargers are the third most likely at 5-1 in Vegas to get them. But I'm going to go with the number one team, the team that's in Vegas most likely for.
No.
And it's the Buffalo Bills, and I think it makes sense here. I told you, Ryan, the other day that I almost think that one of these, and I didn't consider Adams in that group. It was Higgins, Godwin, and Kupp for me. But I did say that I almost think one of those top wide receivers would be more important on this current roster than a Myles Garrett. Now, why I said that is because I just have a lot of confidence in McDermott, no matter who he's got on defense. And he's always going to have a solid defense. And I think that Josh needs a real alpha in this offense. And I think Bean thought so too. And that's why he went out for Cooper, to think that Cooper did something or could do something for them. Obviously that didn't work out, but there's not anybody, if you're not bringing in one of these top wide receivers, there's not anybody that's going to come in that's really going to make this wide receiver core or this offense look any different than it did last year, because Samuel's not going anywhere with the contract. Coleman, you're not bumping him down to fourth on the depth chart. Shakir's still going to be your top target guy. So unless you go and get an alpha to really shake things up, you can't go get a second round wide receiver. He's just going to fit in he's not going to make you any better. So I love the idea. I did not realize until today that he was the Vegas favorite. We were the Vegas favorite to land him. But man, I think that would be fun and exciting, and I can see it happen.
The
Go on,
cap
I know
news,
you
the
wanna
cap
say
news
something.
today made that a lot more possible realistically, right? Because I mean, I'm not saying we're in cap hell. No one's ever in like cap hell unless you're the New Orleans Saints from like 2 or 3 years ago, which
Yeah.
they're playing out right now. But yeah, today what was it? It is going up by 53 million over the last 2 years. It's going up almost 25 million next year. So yeah, I mean, you make some moves. Like Von Miller release, that would clear like 10 to 12 or something. Like that would get you halfway to a Devontae Adams potentially.
And I think that Adams might even have some wiggle room in a new contract that, if he got to the team that he wanted to go to. You're extending Josh again, probably, and creating. I mean, like the way that it's always funny. This was like the Rams like 5-6 years ago, right? Where we're like, how the fuck do they have more money? Like, how do they just keep signing people? And I just think good teams, when they're good and players want to play there, you always kind of find a way to find a little bit of extra cash when you need it. I'm not worried about the money. I'm more so worried about it's corny, but like, does Josh prefer an everybody eats type of room rather than an alpha?
Well, I think that I watched that receiver show. Okay. That's not going to, we don't really know these people. Okay. And we have no real clue, but he does seem like the ultimate competitor, like a guy that McDermott would really, really like to have in the locker room. So I think it'd be a great culture fit. I would love it. And listen, the idea of everybody eats, okay, it doesn't mean that, that everyone has to stop eating if you get Devontae Adams. Okay. Everyone can still eat, but he's not, the same top alpha guy that he's been, like 5 years ago, but he's a reliable piece. I think he's even potentially what they maybe preferred instead of getting Cooper. Cooper was potentially the fallback option. And when the Jets were willing to pay him that much more to get him, then maybe that's why he took it. But I don't know. I think it'd be a great move though. So I'd be all in favor of it.
Zach, can I steal you for 10 extra minutes today or no?
Of course, always.
Okay, I want to make sure before I do this, I would have cut right to our draft, but we have been putting off this, and I know, Brian, you probably have somebody, but we've been
Is
putting
this
off
an
the segment.
intervention? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, surprise. No, but can I quickly,
Has anyone
I just wanna
live streamed
mention-
an intervention yet? I mean, this is go
No,
ahead,
that's
Mira.
pretty
Go
good.
ahead, Mira.
No, I just want to mention a couple of other ones that
Go
first of all, the one that I think stands out the most, and I know they're saying they're not going to trade him anymore, but I think Tyreek Hill is going to be a Washington Commander. I think that makes so much sense. It is the perfect fit with Terry McLaurin, who could operate more in the slot, do the underneath routes. I mean, you have a speed guy down the field. That offense would be electric with Jane Daniels. I hope it kind of happens. I really would love to see it. And then the other one that I think is sneaky that would be hilarious in a certain way, but Cooper Kupp to the Chiefs. I think they could use a receiver like him. They may not want to go the route of like an alpha number. They have some spots open, and in a tertiary role in that offense, I think it would make a lot of sense. And I think Godwin stays with the Bucs. That's all I wanted to add.
I'll end that segment on this. I'm not sure, but excited to find out. And maybe this isn't fair to him at his age and injury thing, but like, are we sure Cooper Kupp's really good, or was he just like a product of that offense? Are we positive he's great? I
know my opinion. I've been fade Kupp for a while, but I do think it's again, hate the player, hate the ADP, not the player. So
yeah, I my whole thing with him is I would be more excited about Adams coming in than I would Kupp, to be perfectly honest.
Me too.
As a Bills fan,
100%. Just from the physical aspect alone. Like, no offense to Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams is just a lot fresher where he is in his career. But Cooper Kupp going to the Chiefs, Ryan, would be reminiscent to me of DeAndre Hopkins going. It's kind of like a stud receiver with great career numbers on his last leg for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. New segment idea that we've been trying to sneak in here the last couple of weeks. Ryan's always got a crush on anytime you call Ryan, talk to Ryan in the summer, he's always got this new rookie he wants to tell you about. He watched 20 minutes of a fucking YouTube clip, and now he's drafting them in every friggin' underdog draft he can. And then and then 3 months later, you're asking him whatever happened to him. He never even got drafted, but now he's got a new boyfriend. So I figured each week I'd give Ryan an opportunity to talk about a new rookie. And one thing that most of the listeners on this podcast know, that I am talking about whatever girl I'm in love with most every other week. There's always a new, I have to start lumping together love interests into different episodes. So I figured I can talk about my flavor of the week after you talk about your flavor of the week. And then for our guests, Zach, like whatever, whatever floats your boat this week, whatever is like, your flavor of the week, maybe you want to do some input, but we'll start with you, Ryan, because I know you've been probably having this in the barrel for 3 weeks. Who is your flavor of the week that you're most excited about right now that you're drafting?
Well, what Louis said is true. I did in a draft on Saturday, the February Fix year 9 of February Fix draft that I won last year. Just want to throw it out there. I drafted 11 out of 18 rookies this year. So I am heavy into the rookies. I think they have the biggest chance to explode in value. And this is a rookie that you can basically get, I mean, not for free, but very, very late round early best ball drafts. And it's Jack Besh. Okay. So I don't know too much about him. All right, I'll say that. But what I've heard about him so far, I really like. What? Was that a bad way to start?
I want to hear all the shit you're about to make up. Go on.
No. I'm not making up anything. I'm reading stuff that I learned about him. Okay. So first of all, I think, let's talk character, right? This guy, his brother was actually one of the victims in the New Orleans terrorist attack. And he went to the Senior Bowl and absolutely dominated, dedicated. He caught the game-winning touchdown. It's like a Disney story. But this guy, I think, is legitimately good. So Davis Maddock the other day tweeted out, I think it was yesterday, that as a true freshman, this guy led LSU in receptions. And that team had Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, Kayshon Boutte, and Trey Palmer. All right, I know the last two guys are just, kind of flops in the NFL. Boutte might have a little bit of a future, but I mean, those are two studs. And Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., this reminds me of a situation. It's like Ladd McConkey, right? With what he did and Bowers did with Georgia. It's one of these under the radar guys. I think he goes in the second round. His ADP right now is 193. I have 21% of them in early best ball drafts. I think you got to grab him everywhere and hope that he's a second round pick. And on a good team or a team that is going to funnel a lot of targets to him.
I love that your go-to argument was like, good character guys, brother died. I don't know.
My go-to.
I'm not sure exactly how those intertwine, but I get it. I know the story is real, but I just don't know. I don't know.
You put that guy in a room with Damar Hamlin. Come on. He's got the.
I've been drafting a little bit of him too. I like him as a late round flyer. I'm not going to fight you too much. Zach, I mean, you could have a rookie too, or do you have a TV show that you've been binging?
Yeah. Well, for my potential rookie, I'm gonna go with Emeka Egbuka if we don't get Devontae Adams. Egbuka would be a great Shakir light in my thinking, but could also go down the sideline a little bit. For my flavor of the week for a TV show, there's only one program right now that I care about on a weekly basis, and it is Traders on Penis.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's great.
I've heard nothing but good things. You want to give us a non-spoiler synopsis?
You ever watch Survivor?
Yeah.
Boston Rob's on season 3.
Okay.
That's a pretty big advertisement. Boston Rob's
That's a pretty big advertisement.
Is Boston Rob's the Survivor GOAT, right?
See, now I didn't watch it a lot, and so the goat to me is like the old naked dude from the first season. Like
Richard Hatch is
Richard
your
Hatch.
goat? He only
That's
won
the
one.
goat to me, dude. That's the goat to me because that's when I I
No,
watched
it
the
pretty
show.
much comes down to like there's either like Tony, Sandra, like Sandra won twice. Tony is considered like one of the best game players, like on top of that. But Boston Rob like won and then like basically like went all the way to the end in another one. Like, and he's like definitely the most resourceful. Like he's best at building shelters and stuff like that, which is obviously key when you're on like a deserted island. Boston Rob's the GOAT.
I guess this is a decent time because I'll tell
You know who's
now
also the
that-
GOAT? I got okay. I had to cut you off.
What?
I'm sorry. I'm really bad
No,
with that.
go on. You got excited.
Speaking of goats and speaking of being outraged about poker odds, Phil Hellmuth not playing in the main event this year or threatening to not play in the main event this year. Are you kidding me? Like Phil Hellmuth not playing in the main event. I was trying to explain the context of like this to people. I mean, it's incalculable. It's unfathomable. We need whatever needs to be done so that Phil Hellmuth plays in the main event. We need to have done.
It's pretty insane. I saw some of his comments and I kind of agree. Like it's just a bunch of people trying to luck box, and that there's the skill is gone. You know, when there was smaller fields and the same guys were always crushing, you knew it was a skilled game. And now with these big fields, I mean, whatever. They're still playing, right? They have to be doing well, I would imagine. They're still, all the pros are still doing pretty good. But yeah, that's I saw a little bit about that. I'm gonna have to tune in more. I will say this. I know Allie will probably announce more later, but Allie's going to be having kind of a spin-off podcast where she's going to be doing everything and nothing by herself weekly on our new platform that we'll be releasing here in the next few weeks. And
Holy
I think you'll be a very sought out guest for her because I know you're a very big reality fan, and so is she. And so I'm sure we'll be knocking on your door often to be a part of that podcast.
My favorite content that Allie Brady has ever put out. No, it's not her great work at the Bandits games. No, it isn't her many spots at Helium Comedy Club and platforming other comedians locally. It's actually when she would just record Maury during the day, and at the last second, she would say, not the father or yes, the father, before the verdicts were read. It was grade A content I used to look forward to every day.
I do remember those. I thought you were going to say her time on NPR because she's also on NPR. She is also on NPR every week, and she's it's a much different conversation than it is here on Wednesday nights, I must say. So this is a really bad week for me to have flavor of the week. We talked about, but it's the end of the winter, right? Like I'm in hibernation mode. I think the last flavor I talked about was my massage therapist, who I am no longer seeing, and my back hurts a lot now. And oh my God, this is really funny. So I got the other day. So when we were seeing each other, obviously, like I'd be like, oh, don't forget to, we would always schedule out a few months ahead of time. So, there was a couple times while we were seeing together, I was like, hey, just don't forget to take that off your schedule, on Friday, this and that, right? So now we have not talked in 10 days. And 3 days ago, I get a text, confirm your appointment. It was supposed to be for today. And I was like, I had to text her on the side and be like, as much as I really need and want a back massage, you probably should fill that spot. And so I had to fill that, and that was hurtful. So I'm looking for the next flavor one and the next massage therapist. If anybody out there is listening, funny that when I was thinking about today, I was like, I've kind of been, I went to that, I call her a rave. I went to an EDM show last Friday, and any girl that looks at me, when you're on drugs and listening to music, any girl that smiles at me is the next, love of my life. There were some guys that looked cute that night, whatever, it was
guys
a fun
can look
night.
cute. Anyone can look cute in the right setting. Let's go.
At an EDM show. Yeah, you're all cool. But tonight, I went to a new doctor. I think I told you about this, Ryan. I don't know if I talked about it in the podcast a couple weeks ago, and was like, he was like, "How's your mental health?" And I was like, "I slept with my therapist." And then he's like, "How's your what hurts you?" I'm like, "My back." And he's like, "Why don't you go see anybody?" I was like, "I'm currently sleeping with my massage therapist." And he was like, what is there? What is wrong with your I just checked your blood pressure. You're 40 pounds overweight. Like, it's got to be a personality thing, right?" And I was like, "It's got to be. I don't get it." But so he was like, "Well," or I told him later on, I go, "I want to see a nutritionist." Give my shit. And he goes, "Listen, dude," he goes, I just can't promise you." He's like, "The other doctors that we went through, I could get you an old guy." He's like, "This one, I can't, I don't think there's going to be many male nutritionists if you're trying to stick that route." I was like, "Can we just look at the pictures at least of them and just pick the ugliest one? Like, is there an old lady that I can pick?" Whatever. And, we joked and we laughed. And then today I go to virtual meeting and my nutritionist is hot as hell. So I'm going to be fat. Even fatter, but at least hopefully we go on a couple dates before she ditches me.
What if this was the key all along, though? What if she just like locks you into like a super fit lifestyle because you're like, you're buying into the program? It's like
I'm buying into the program. Yeah, I just don't even. I'm like, "You're not hot to me." Like, I'm really gonna do this right. She ended. I don't think anybody that she asked me what my diet looks currently, and then I was like, "And I'm not using my sleep apnea machine enough." So I don't think I'm gonna end up sleeping with this one. I think it's pretty clear that there's no sexual tension there, but you never know. You never know. But all right, I hate talking about this stuff when Allie's not here because I feel like it's just bros being bros. So like, I'm going to make this short, but like, Allie laughing at this, like, makes me feel a little bit better about it. But I do want to ask, and I got to ask her, I will text this to her later, but I'll ask you guys while you're here. So the free Hinge, I just got back on Hinge. I'm like, maybe I'll do that, seeing that it's, end of winter. And when you're on the free, you only get 2 roses to send out, right? So like every week or something, right? And these are important decisions, and also a big part of that decision is knowing what you're working with, right? Like, I can't just throw the 2 roses out to dimes because those roses are just going to wilt. They're going to die, right? Like, I have to, as a 6.8, I got to find someone in my wheelhouse at like a 6.5, 7.5, give them their roses. Also, they're probably not getting a lot of roses in the 6.5, 7.5 region, so they are more apt to get back with you. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you should make like a spreadsheet and come up with like the odds of like, just like rank them all, or get the, get like raw data, put it in there. And then it's just like fantasy football. Really. It's not much different, right? You're a spreadsheet socialist, as they say.
Yeah, my thing, I never had any success on the dating apps. I was on them for a couple of years there at the peak for sure. But yeah, my take is always that if you like outkick your coverage on the app or whatever, and they like, match you or whatever, it's more like suspicious than anything. You're like, "Oh, how am I getting set up here?" Or like, like what PayPal are they going to ask me to send $37.95 to,
100%. I literally have been working on a bit for the last like 3 weeks at open mics every day, like trying to get this bit right. But it's so true. Like, I'm uncomfortable at how many follow-up questions I ask an obvious porn bot. They'll DM me and I'm like, "All right, but if you say you're from Buffalo, tell me what the current weather is." And then they give like an AI like answer back, and I was like, "You sound sexy."
My fun with the porn bots is like how far I can get them off their linear like flow chart for sure. Like, can I frustrate the porn bot to the point where it just leaves me?
Yeah. That's so great. All right. We're past our time here. Ellie's not here to do it. We'll run through this real quick. With the current success of the Four Nations tournament and hockey, and everyone's starting to talk about what the NBA or the NFL can do with their Pro Bowls and their all-star games to make it more exciting. So I figured, let's do a draft. to come up with ways that we can make the Pro Bowl more exciting. So I will do the draft order real quick. All right. Number 1 pick is Ryan. I am 2, and Zach, you'll be 3 and 4. We'll snake draft 4 picks. And Rye, go ahead, start us off.
All right, I want you to picture this. Okay. Instead of the Pro Bowl, you have an old school style academic and athletic competition, like an old school the movie. So you have everyone taking an exam. You have people doing ribbon dancing. You're going gymnastics, all types of unique random ass events. And it would be hilarious. Like, I actually think this could work. It's really silly idea, but that's kind of the point of the whole thing, is that it's hard to get serious with this kind of stuff. So just make it wild. Bring Will Ferrell in, bring all the crew in. Like, it'd be great. It'd be funny.
I like that. I want to hear Jameis Winston have to do some of the testing.
Be a team captain, no doubt.
Yeah. I want to just preface this by all my answers are going to include this part, because I think the most important part of this, no matter what you do, is move this game back behind the Super Bowl again and make all the players in the agreement. They have to play unless there's a legitimate injury. They have to go, even if they play in the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear anybody backing out. Make it where the players have to go. But that's just a preface of all my ideas. I think my favorite idea here that I don't think anybody else would take it, but I'm still it's my favorite, so I'm going to go here, is the Pro Bowlers get picked like normal, but nobody can play their normal position. So, like, you got wide receivers playing offensive line, and maybe your guard as your quarterback. Let's mix it up a little bit and have some fun. That would be my favorite idea out of all the ones I have written down. Zach, you got 2 coming our way.
Yeah. So I mean, am I allowed to say just move it back to Hawaii? Because it seems like since they moved it to like the mainland, like the 48 here, it seems like it ultra sucks. Like I think they thought they were gonna be like, oh, we're gonna move it back to like the 48 and it's gonna get better from the iffy it is. Now it's just gotten shittier. So with my first pick, I'm gonna go back to Hawaii. I liked seeing the lays, the footage, all that stuff. Let's go back to the nostalgia of easier times, 2017 and earlier. I think we all agree. A little bit smoother times.
I think part of that too is like you'd get more players to go because they enjoyed taking their families and like all that stuff. Like it was an event for them, and they got to hang with their families and stuff. So yeah, I totally agree.
And then how many rounds are we doing for this draft? Just 2?
4.
Okay, 4. Okay, gotcha. Okay, interesting. All right. All right. I don't think anyone's gonna take this, but I will say. I want to see everyone in the NFL play Mario Kart versus each other and have one ultimate victor at the Pro Bowl. I would tune in if there was a Mario Kart competition at the Pro Bowl.
I like that. I'm saying this. No, I'm gonna switch because I think that's been done. Actually, I'm like, let me do failed things. All right, I want there to be a reality show leading up like the 4 weeks up until the Pro Bowl, a reality show of Madden players playing in a tournament, do all the drama. I mean, just the Real Housewives drama. Get the most 16. They got to be great players, obviously, but I want the drama. I want shit talkers. I want people that are going to be throwing punches in certain days and stuff. I want a whole thing leading up to it, and then the 2 winners, the top 2, are the head coaches for the game, and I think that would bring in some extra viewers. Madden players should be head coaches in the NFL.
Yes.
Well, Mike McDaniel already is one, so
yeah.
All right. For my next 2 picks, I'm going to say, so I think back to some of the early 2000s Pro Bowl games, and like they used to be interesting and kind of fun to watch. And I wonder if, and the cool part about it was like, You get to see like Peyton Manning throwing passes to receivers that he would never play with, right? And just cool things like that. And so I'm saying my next idea is to just make it a legitimate game by paying the players enough money to make it worth their time. The NFL is printing money. I know this idea won't work because it involves the NFL forking over more money, but I think if you pay the players and incentivize them, the winning team gets 2 million, the losing team gets 1 million. Every player on each team. I mean, come on, just that players will play hard for that. They'll play for an extra 1 million. It doesn't have to be let's go all out and tear ACLs, that kind of thing, but make it somewhat competitive. And I think that'd be fun. My next idea is, you remember, like, you see those videos of like the longest throw competitions back when it was like Dan Marino and like stuff like that. Why do we not do that anymore? And like the new skills competition, it's like in this, like, it looks like it's in Lasertron or something. Like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, why don't we just go outside, throw a football? Who can throw the farthest football? Who can throw the hardest football? Who can catch a football that's flying at you from a jugs machine at 150 miles an hour?
I want the slow moving targets across the field. Yes.
That's and so you do this and you make it like a sports science type thing. It's like a skills and sports science, themed, thing. And so I think they just need to spruce up the skills competition, because that used to always be something that appealed to me, and they've kind of ruined it.
Do you guys remember that Brian Moorman did the race when it was 2005 and he was faster than Steve Smith? I mean, am I saying that Steve Smith was going with his life on the line? No, but like, that was crazy.
Oh, I don't remember that. So now I'm going to be Googling that as soon as we get off, because I obviously remember him getting his life rocked by Taylor. But
that's a more famous moment.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. That's great. I think my next, I'm between two ideas. I'm going to give a shout out here to Brett Coleman from Underdog, who had this idea. And our guys at GR have talked about it a couple times too this week, but I like this idea. He tweeted out the other day that it should be players from Florida, Texas, and California versus the rest of the country. And you have a little bit of pride, right? Like you're playing for where you grew up and where you were born, and there will be a little bit of pride in that game. I think the overall teams would match up pretty well too with that. Like, whatever, it's interesting. I'll go that route.
Or they could just totally politicize it and just go red states versus blue states.
Now you want an intense game.
You want an intense game. Or legit just legit just go, forget the states. Just legit just go.
Bro, imagine how hard the Bosa brothers would play in that game.
They would paint their helmets red. Oh my god, it'd be so gross. Dude, that's really funny. All right, go ahead, Zach. You're up for two.
All right, I got two.
Yep.
Okay. All right. No, you're good. I would have a eating competition. Your 5 biggest eaters on the team. There would be an eating competition that week. And then it would be the top 5, and then 5 professional eaters against the 2 teams of 5, just to show how ridiculous professional eaters are. And also the NFL teams, in honor of a new partnership that the NFL can make money off of, they have to consume edibles before the eating competition. So it would just be like performance enhancing eating competition. Would be great. And then my final pick, I mean, how have they not done this already when you have a meaningless like week 16 or week 17 game? Let's get some celebrity refs in there. Like, I would love to see Snoop Dogg making a call in crunch time. I would love to see, Kevin Hart making a ruling right outside the 2-minute warning on the ruling on the field. That would be outstanding. Let's see it, NFL.
That's really good. That's a good thing. You guys kind of mixed one idea I had and 2 of your answers. And am I going to use it here? I think so. So I will. So I'm going to kind of steal 2 of your minor ideas, make it one thing. I think doing the old school quarterback skills challenge, I want to bring back, right? Like the Dan Marino and the Jim Kelly ones we watched when we were a kid with the targets and stuff like that. And the edibles are a cool idea, but I'm gonna go with getting them just shit faced drunk and watching them go through the quarterback skills challenge. I think would be, and mic them up, just mic them up, get them shitty, just have bottles of vodka just right out on the field, and just watch them do that and see how bad it gets. It would be so great. Ryan, you're ending.
All right, my last pick for how you can improve the Pro Bowl is you replace it with a USA versus Canada hockey game, and just have them play instead. So that's my last pick.
I figured you were going to put that in somewhere. All right, well that is it. You can scan that cute little barcode right at the top of our little faces here in the top right corner and get to our YouTube page and like and subscribe, please. Zach, it was a pleasure. It was well worth the 2 years waiting to get you on here. I literally walk by your house daily.
I like that. One time I took Ryan to Hoyt Lake and I pointed at a camera at him for an hour.
That's right. The old train wreck tonight.
Let's go.
Yep.
That's great. Well, we'll do this again soon. Hopefully, Zach, you'll come back and we'll get Allie here maybe next time. Is this a awkward time to mention Allie just didn't come on because I'm joking. That's a joke.
Well, listen, I had to do the PR cleanup. It's okay, AB. I'm here for you.
It's cleaned up. It's good. We could go back to enjoying her Maury takes. And thank you all for joining tonight. We only went over 15 minutes without Allie here, so that's a win. We will see you next week, Wednesday, 9:00. Talk to you then.